Every brand wants to look different, but most sound identical. Stock library tracks, generic voiceovers, soft piano, upbeat ukulele, you name it, we've heard it. Avoiding the corporate sound at this stage feels impossible. You see, most brands you can visually spot instantly, but aurally, sonically, musically, it's all a blur. And today I want to show you, if you're involved in a brand in any way, shape or form, I'm going to show you how to fix that. And that starts with the visual trap. Now, the visual trap is we have been trained to think about branding versus visuals. And logos, color palettes, typography, all dialed in to perfection. Everybody in the team knows how to use it. You've got your visual guidelines, but there's no audio guidelines in place. So the moment your ad starts playing, you sound exactly like all of your competitors. And to me, it's like dressing uniquely, having like unique fashion sense, and then speaking in somebody else's tone, sounding exactly like everybody else that's out there trying to look cool and fashionable. Bit of a weird analogy, but I think it gets the message across, okay? So let's talk about the copycat problem. The copycat problem is that the same 5 tracks live rent-free in every brand's library. Your team will have downloaded 5 songs, they rotate it. It's the top 5 songs on a subscription like Artlist or Epidemic Sound. They've downloaded it, they keep using it. And then you spot it on somebody else's campaign. Now, not only does that cheapen your brand, but it also crosses the values with the other brand that's there as well. Believe it or not, I have found a cigarette company that was advertising on, I think it was national TV, but I found it on YouTube, and the same song had been used in a health company that we were working with. And I had to show the health company and be like, look, this is what stock music is doing to you. You are literally portraying the same emotion and the same vibe, the same values, core values with this cigarette brand. And that is definitely a problem, and that happens all the time. And one day it's inspirational acoustic, the next day it's corporate uplifting music, the day after that Barbara might have had her first nightclub evening and is now addicted to trance music, and then Darren over in the corner broke up with his girlfriend last night, so it's emotional string music. It's stuff we've heard time and time again, but worst of all, brands are using it or approaching it randomly. There's no set guidelines in place. And because everyone's using all of these tracks on stock music, nobody's actually owning them. So it's kind of like renting emotion instead of building identity. That's where the real value is. And you think about Intel, you think about Netflix, the sound of those brands actually adds value to the company. We calculated that the sound of Intel has added $6.9 billion worth of value over its time, over its last, 20 years? Which is a crazy amount of value because of identity. In the same way that any other brand would be bought and purchased because of the brand identity, because of the brand reputation, that's where the value is in brands. And when we talk about brand equity, we're not lightly saying that sound adds value to the brand. If it increases the identity, recognition, sales, recall, all this good stuff that we spend so much time working on as a brand team, if we increase all of that value, then it's increasing the value of the brand. That's how important this is. And everybody is approaching the visual aspect, but nobody's really tackling, not truly really tackling the sound aspect, which you could see as 50-50 visual and sound, right? So the emotional disconnect. And this is what I think is the real issue. So sound drives emotion faster than visuals. That's a neurological fact. And you see logos and you forget it, but you feel sound instantly. When you look at something, you're not quite sure what the emotion is around the brand necessarily, or it's very weak if it is. But with sound, you're getting an emotion very, very quickly. So when brands sound the same, they're losing that emotional shortcut. They're memorable for kind of all the wrong reasons. Or worse, they're not memorable at all. When was the last time you actually remembered or heard a song in an advert and actually remembered what the brand was that was connected to the music that was used? My guess would be it's quite rare that happens for you. So visual identity equals being seen, but sonic identity is being remembered. That's kind of the takeaway I want you to have from this video, is that we are not just talking about creating another asset for the sake of creating another asset. It's about what is the most memorable asset that you are currently using or not currently using that can actually add so much to the brand. And if you think about Netflix, you don't even need the logo in front of you. You just need that ta-dum sound. Once you hear that, you know it's Netflix. And that is the power of sonic branding. And it feels premium. It feels confident, which I think is a really important aspect. And importantly, in Netflix's case, it sounds cinematic. You know, it feels like you're about to watch a movie. It feels connected to that. I was going to say genre, but that's a musical term. It feels connected to the brand and everything it's trying to achieve. And that sound recognition is doing what visuals can't. It's connecting with people in the room next door. It's evoking an emotion of excitement that is, you're about to watch a movie and relax into your evening. For some, it will be that trigger moment that makes you go, we're here to watch, the evening has arrived and we're going to relax for the rest of our day. You don't just remember it, but you do anticipate it. You know, when you turn the TV on or you turn Netflix on and that logo comes up on screen, you kind of anticipate the sound that's going to come with it. It's almost a confirmation that you've got the sound on your TV. So, why does this happen? Well, most brands treat sound as an afterthought. I'm sure you're guilty if you work on a brand that sound is the last thing that comes into play. The campaigns are never normally built around what sound is going to be used. The campaigns are never really considering sound in the initial budgets that are being set, which I know I work in this industry of sonic branding, but put my bias to one side, I think is a real missed lost cause. Because if you're not planning on building a campaign around the music, or at least considering it 50-50 with what visuals are going to happen, you're missing a really great opportunity to be memorable and to build a legend. I was watching some Christmas campaigns because at the point of making this video, we're coming up to the Christmas campaign season, and I had 3 or 4 Christmas ads that I watched because they've all been released this week, so I'm paying attention to them as they come on. All of them had such generic Christmas background, string orchestral feel, which is nice. It feels good, but none of them rounded off with this real recognizable sound, sonic element that made me realize, oh, that's that brand. Oh, that's that brand. That's that brand. Because they were all so generic in the way that they were using sound. There was no identity for me. Most people are down looking at their phones, or they're doing something else, or they're out the room making a coffee or a tea, and they are not necessarily looking at the screen. So what a missed opportunity to listen to the ad, but also capture that moment where it's like, oh, I know this is going to be that brand, or I know this is going to be that brand. And that's what I think is such a shame about sound being an afterthought, because there is an actual opportunity missed there. And all the ads I've seen so far, I don't recognize any of them just by the sound and the audio. And in fact, throughout most of the visuals, I don't recognize them until the very end anyway. So imagine if there was loads of different moments, lots of different sound elements throughout the campaign that reminds me exactly who this is, okay? And that's where I think brands are missing a huge opportunity, and that's costing them money. They brief it last minute, they being brands, brand teams, brief it last minute, it's rushed, hand it off to a freelancer who's never even met the brand, never even considered what their goals are, what their values are. They're just getting the brief and getting the job done. I'm working on a Christmas campaign right now, and we're Tuesday today. We've got a meeting tomorrow to lock in the sound, and we haven't even had the brief yet, and it's got to be finished and out and submitted by Friday. Such a missed opportunity to create some. Luckily for them, we've worked with the brand for quite a long time, so we will be able to use the brand melodies and the brand rhythmic patterns in there to make it really recognizable. But the fact it's thrown at the end still baffles me. The result is you have a nice track that fits, but it doesn't fit nothing. It doesn't make any it doesn't bring any recall back to the brand. It doesn't make you recognize the brand in any way, shape, or form. So you might have these, like the Christmas ones. They're lovely sounding string orchestral pieces of music. Don't get me wrong, the quality is there. But if I don't know who the brand is, then kind of what is the point? It's background noise. It's not brand identity. I think that summarizes everything on that slide very well. So the fix, start with a sound strategy, or at least start with it at the beginning of the process, at least discuss it. So step 1, treat sound like the design of the project, the campaign, the initiative, the event, whatever it is that you're working on. And map your brand values to tone, texture, rhythm, energy. If you want help with that, we can help you with that discussion. We don't even need to make the music, but we can help you at least create the strategy. And ask, how should our brand feel in our sound? If you can understand how it should feel, then you can brief it out to any music agency to be able to find the right music for that. But unless you're instructing on how it should feel and how it should be identified and recognized and memorized, then how can you really give out a brief that isn't generic? And that's how you build intentionality, not imitation. We work on briefs all the time for TV campaigns, for social media campaigns, and we see so many briefs that are so generic, and they're long and they're written long, but they're just so... It's like they're trying to justify their role by making a long brief, but they're not really saying anything in it. And I think if you can figure out the tone, texture, rhythm, energy, and how the brand should feel, in theory, you should be able to say that in a few sentences, and the experts should be able to then find the strategy or figure out the strategy and find the right music that fits and suits. So our approach is a soundboard. Think of this as like a mood board for music, but it's for sound. The sound of the brand. And we consider this the DNA of your sonic identity. So before a single melody is even written, before a rhythmic pattern is even created, we have structured out how the brand should sound in what we call a soundboard. And it makes sure that your sound feels like you before you have even created the music, before you've even discussed what it should sound like, before it's even hit the speakers. It is discussed, it's strategized, the guidelines are in place. And the long game, the point of this is that once you have your soundboard, you can build everything from there. So your sonic logos, your campaigns in your music, your UX sounds, your UI sounds, your podcast intros, events where you've got team members walking onto stage or you're launching a new product. Everything can be built from there. And it's all connected, it's all recognizable as tying back to the brand. There's cohesion across the whole thing. And that's when people start hearing your brand and not just seeing it. Imagine being at a conference or an event, launching a product, and someone down the corridor that's not even in the room goes, that brand must be doing something in there. And that, it would be an epic moment for the brand, but that really shows that the value is being heard and it's being received and it's being recognized. And the transformation should then look like when you sound like everyone else, your brand, when you stop sounding like everyone else, your brand becomes unforgettable and sound stops being the background and it becomes the recognizable hook that people take away. People start recognizing you by ear before they even see you. And in the world that we are in now, where we've got smart speakers, everyone's got AirPods and headphones, and we get into a car now and it gives us all kinds of sounds. We get into public transport and there's sounds happening all the time. We live in a world that is very noisy, and your instant reaction might be like, it's already noisy, I don't want to add more noise. But actually, when it's done well, it cuts through that noise and it enhances an experience. Every time you get in the car, you don't necessarily notice the sound. Every time you open the fridge or I'm trying to think, or turn on Netflix, you don't necessarily hear the sound every single time. Sometimes it's subconscious, but the emotion is still felt. And that is the recognition that I think all brands should be known for. And that's what true brand experience should feel like overall. It's how do you feel when you connect with a brand. Okay, that's everything for today. I hope that has given you that starting point that you were looking for. We talked about fixing that problem of sounding like everybody else, and how do I actually start a process of creating my own identity. And I hope that gives you a bit of a journey plan, gives you a bit of knowledge that you can take back to the team and discuss. If you'd like us to work on a soundboard with you, pop me an email. Our details are below. And you can get in touch. We can book in a session. The first hour is a free call. We hop on. We always want to get to know people. We want to get to know who we're working with and make sure we definitely can actually help you. So if you're just looking for advice at this stage, that's absolutely fine. All our relationships are long-term. We work on many campaigns with the same brands, and each campaign, you can imagine, gets stronger and stronger, and the guideline has become more ingrained into the brand and more mandatory. So get in touch. Let's have a chat if you just want to learn a little bit more. And I hope this was useful. In the meantime, have a great day. I will speak to you in the next video. I'll see you in the next video.